We have a very special guest in studio, our very good friend. He was the first guest we ever had on the show. I've trained jiu-jitsu with him for a very long time. He is also helps me with all my finances. He is just a great guy, and we're happy to have him back on. The great and powerful Connor Silverstein.
Welcome back, sir.
The great and powerful. I don't feel so powerful right now.
Well.
But I'll take it.
Yeah, I was going to say, we're just talking about how broken you are.
Yeah, we're all injured a little bit.
Yeah.
Either emotionally or physically.
Hey, I'm feeling pretty good. So
Are you? All
right.
I'm not.
I'm going to Revive at noon today. So
I'm
right?
not. I messed my knee up rolling, and then my groin playing hockey, and I'm just like, man.
You're too big to be playing hockey at this age.
No, man.
It's a lot of man moving down that ice, you know?
Oh, that's a big boy. It's a big boy coming at you quick.
Yeah.
I'm light on my feet, guys. Like it's like a ballerina.
I think, what's that? Will Ferrell, Blades of Glory?
Yeah.
Yeah, just picture him. I would love to see you in that outfit with your boys.
Yeah, just add about 2 to 3 inches taller and a lot of equipment.
A lot more
of
man.
Equipment. A lot of man.
A lot of man.
Yes.
Yep.
Yeah, for sure. Well, Connor, since we've had you on last, it's been almost 2 years.
Mm-hmm.
What's changed with you? What's new? I mean, obviously, I know a lot of things, but let's inform the people listening. What's been going on with you?
I mean, I would say the biggest change in my life, obviously, outside of just, I think one thing, as you get older, and I think I'm 32 years old now. Around the time that we did that first podcast, it was the beginning stages of my 30s. And I don't know what the difference was being in my 20s versus 30s. Of course, I'm sure every decade you start looking at life a little differently. But I became way more grounded in how I looked at life and pursued life. I really doubled down on my faith. That was honestly one of the biggest changes in my life. It's one thing to say you are a faith-based person, but it's actually another thing to have it as like fundamentally part of your life and pursue it, have a relationship with it. And that influenced how I went about my relationships, jiu-jitsu, my business, everything. Part of growing up isn't just learning more, but it's that humility that comes, especially with entrepreneurs, where we're all about go, 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 get after it, take action. It can be very me. Look at me, look what I'm accomplishing, versus just that gratitude to even be where you are in the first place or have the blessings that you have. So that's been tremendous. Obviously, we've grown in our jiu-jitsu. We got this one doing it now.
Yeah,
you weren't doing jiu-jitsu at that time.
I hadn't started yet. I started that summer.
We probably talked on that last podcast about him getting into it.
We did.
So,
Absolutely.
And it's
been
been
about every podcast until I got into it.
Yeah.
Right? Literally.
And now that I'm in it, that's all we talk about.
We talk about it even more.
And then getting engaged too, that's more recent.
Congratulations.
Thank you so much.
Exciting.
I'm so blessed to have Aaron in my life. And just honestly, less about me, but just been grateful to watch everyone in my life just kick butt. You've been doing so many amazing tournaments, putting yourself out there in ways that I never have. I just have so many people in my life being leaders that have grown in ways that I'm just grateful to sit back and watch and see it all shake out.
Yeah, that's awesome, man.
Yeah.
Well, being around you a lot, the biggest thing I was expecting you to say there, and you said it, was, the change of you being in a long-term committed relationship. How has that affected your life?
With God or with Aaron?
With I was referring to with Aaron, but
yeah. Oh man, I don't know if it's not so much that it's finding the right person, and what does it mean to have the right person in your life. I think so often we forget what it means to pursue somebody and what that relationship's supposed to be. And of course, this is coming from a guy who's never been married or had kids or done all that jazz. Everyone approaches life differently. But she has grounded me in so many ways I never knew I needed. She helped me learn about all of the things that I needed to overcome myself, and all the things of the world that I was attracted to that long-term wouldn't be fulfilling, sustainable, that wasn't healthy for me. And more importantly, what it means to have a best friend in a relationship, someone who loves you through and through, even when you can see how ugly you can be inside. I know so many people in my life, it's like you put the spotlight on them And the first thing they think behind the scenes, I know everyone probably has done there is like, oh man, they know this side of me, but if only they knew my dark secrets or what I did yesterday or thought about or this or that. Like everyone's got those stains in their life where they just feel so undeserving of certain things, especially men. You know, we have a hard time forgiving ourselves and accepting ourselves. And so being in a long-term relationship, I think usually has to come with someone looking at you and saying, I see you, I accept you, and I love you. Like, and let's grow together. You know, one of my favorite, and I can't quote exactly what part in the Bible it talks about this, but so all my faith-based friends are going to laugh at me. It talks about a woman who committed adultery, I believe, and she was supposed to be stoned and whatnot. Everyone brought her before Christ and was like, all right, well, she committed sin. And then he was like, well, stone her if you haven't sinned yourself. Like, come here and pick up a rock. But if you've done something...
person person who's never sinned can cast the first stone. Something along
right?
those lines.
And so then everyone just stands there and walks away. And then they're like, you know, and
I can pull some quotes out.
I love, absolutely. And I love that because it kind of makes me
school.
think about just that makes you even more humble because it's just like, instead of judging, and it's so easy to just be like, oh man, what's this person doing or this or that? And it's just so natural for humans to do these things, to not take a step back and go like, bro, what about you? Like, what you, how many times in life did you need that kind of grace? You know, okay, you've grown out of it, but 10 years from now, you're going to look back even at where you're at now and be like, man, what were you doing?
Right.
You know, and it's easier to approach life that way when you're accepted and you also have the right partner who's nudging you along the way of like, I got you, let's keep moving. Same thing I hope to always do every day for her. So, you know.
Yeah. So not just your growing your relationship with her, but growing your relationship with God. How is your view from when we first sat down to talk to where we're at now? And what is your view about being a man? How has that changed?
Oh man. Well, it's funny because around that time I did that podcast was at a moment in my life where I realized what a hypocrite I was when it came to my faith. So I was raised Jewish, but didn't take faith in religion that serious. I was like anyone who was far from pursuing God, that like, I was just like, oh, I'm doomed. Like I've done too many mistakes. I'm not like those good people over there. Right. And I was fearful to even pursue it. It just was like, just get through each day, do the best you can. And then I had a moment, like I tell everyone to be open-minded in life, but we seem to be more open-minded on where we want to go have lunch and where we want to go on vacation than what do we actually believe in life. Like, it's so interesting of like, oh, we haven't taken the time to look at that. And it's like, what really matters more than what's this life all about? Like, you know what I mean? Like, we all know our endpoint is coming. So why delay the most fundamentally important question in our existence is what happens next? Is God real or not? You know, I feel like when people say they're spiritual, and I apologize if I offend anyone by saying this, but it just means I don't know. I don't want to say I'm atheist because it sounds scary. Like I don't believe in God, and then I don't want to say I believe, like, I'm spiritual because I don't know, but it's really just that you haven't done the research. Like that was me.
That's me right now.
That's me right now.
Right.
100%.
And I just wanted to finally say that publicly. And I always try to say that to people because a lot of Christians talk about like, I've been this since I was younger and I always knew God and all this. And for me, I was like, I never cared about any of this most of my life. And then I finally started pursuing, and I started with some of the more like, I was like, if you can convince an intelligent atheist to come to God, then what's stopping me? And it started with Lee Strobel's A Case for Christ. Some people can poke holes in it, but the overall theme is there. And this is a real man's story. Now his whole family are leading in the faith world. Like I think his kids are like scholars at universities educating on like Christianity now. And he's a speaker around the world. And he was like a journalist, I believe, from what I remember. And he would write like articles on atheism. Like he was like a downright atheist. Like, this is what I believe. Like, that's all Hufflepuff, like this ain't real. And his story was when a nurse who felt God led her to be at that restaurant that night that saved their daughter, the wife then started pursuing Christ. And he was like, I'm either disproving Christianity or I'm divorcing my wife. Like I need to pull her away from this. Like I'm not being married to someone who believes in this crap. And by the end of his like any journalist, you got to look for the facts.
Right.
So that's how I approach it because it's so easy to dumb down like God moments to like that coincidence or like, oh, this or that. It's just so easy. And being as emotion based as I am, ironically enough, when I pursue this stuff, I'm very like science and history facts. And as you pursue the science history and even like, could he have survived the resurrection? Right. It's like the last thing you're going to do after you're basically bleeding out to your death is like, only several days later, let me go preach about God. Like, no, you're in a hospital. You're not out there being like, let's disciple people. Right. So from even a medical perspective, like there's just so much science and historical documents more than so many other like figures in history that we don't like question at all, And so that really started making me pursue something.
And what's this called again?
A Case for Christ.
Okay, I think
there's a movie on it as well. The movie's fantastic. It helps you get in the right mind of like, there's that other saying of like, I could be wrong, but if I'm wrong, at least I lived a life with good, like that good foundation and values. But if I am right, that's everything. Right.
Yeah.
And if I never pursued and then I end up in that position, it's like, crap, I missed the opportunity literally of a lifetime, to spend eternity with God, And so but unfortunately, after I became baptized and accepted Christ in my life, I went on living like nothing ever changed, from 24 to 30 years old. And even afterward in ways, it's like we all have our sin struggles, things and habits that we don't realize we have that we're just like, man, do better. What's going on? But around 30 years old, the January after I did that podcast with y'all, is when I jumped in a Bible study. And that's what really started my faith journey about 2 years ago, where it's like, I want to actually pursue this. And Matt Joe, he said something to me. He was in my Bible study, still is. And I'm like reading the Bible. I'm like, I don't feel anything reading this stuff. And he's like, because that's you're reading like you don't believe it. Just lie to yourself. Read it as if this was all real and just see how it hits you. And all of a sudden it started like sounding different. I was just like pretend it's real then. And though I believe it's real and you say you believe in Christ and you accept it, but just like read these stories as if it's real. See how it sounds to you. And that just started changing everything for me. And just, I say this a lot lately, humility. There is worldly humility and then there's godly humility of like, around the time I did that last podcast compared to how I used to be, I was like, man, like, I got a little ego to me and all this stuff and these other, I'm not perfect, but I was like, compared to everyone else, I'm pretty grounded and humble. And then you start pursuing your faith and you're like, dude, like you justify so much worldly stuff that no one would know because Connor's a nice guy. But deep down, it's like, dude, you ain't that great. You ain't that special. Like you don't deserve any of this stuff for the stuff you've done. So now you just get to live on life and feel justified for who you are, and that's what really made me so grateful that, I believe in Christ. I believe God is who he says he is based on what the Bible says. And thank God for a God like that, because otherwise I'd be doomed. I think most people would. Yeah. And so, that's how I've been pursuing life ever since. And it's hard, way harder than jujitsu. Because at least I'm like, let's go do jujitsu. I could be here all day, right?
Yeah.
Right.
I'd rather scroll on Instagram all day long than open the Bible sometimes. Like no one's like, man, I just was in the Bible, couldn't put it down all day. But it's like, but that's because the stuff that we love most are usually the stuff that's the worst for us.
For sure. Yeah. I mean, you open up your Instagram app, you're going to see, you go open up anybody's Instagram app and go to that For You page. You're going to see what they're really like interested in.
100%. And even when you clean it up, the world tries to make you break bad all the time,
Mm-hmm.
I don't think people realize how much this world wants men to be that typical, just like, the type of man that, daughters or sons would be like, oh yeah, that's the dad I'm proud of. Like, that's what I want daddy. Like, you know what I mean? You always think like, I'm not even a father yet. So what am I saying? Like, you guys are both parents, but I'm always just like, if I was a kid, what kind of dad would I want my dad to be? Even though we can hide some, when you're older, it's like, but like every day is an opportunity to just be like, how can I, like, what's more important? I'm going to end up in the ground anyway. Hopefully not hopefully, in heaven with God.
Right.
So it's like, what's the point of this existence otherwise? Just to have a blip of fun,
Right.
you know?
And we're not here for very long at all.
No.
In the
In the
grand scheme of thing. I
Yeah.
mean, like, I think I was listening, started a new book yesterday, and I think that, they were saying that humanity as itself is about 200 years old, or 200,000 years old.
Yep.
Roughly. And, I mean, that in the existence of Earth is like, oh God, I mean, they estimated at like, what is a couple 100 million or something.
Yep.
And it's like 200,000 is such a small blip time of how long like this has been here. And I mean, really, we've only really been like recording history for what, 2,000 years, So it's like, that's really like, this is such we're just at like the beginning stages of what humanity is.
100%.
And I mean, and just look how much it's changed over like the last 100 years.
100%.
I mean, look at what people were doing.
Changed in the last 10.
In the last 10? Yeah. I mean, fuck, when we were
pre-COVID versus post, my stepfather passed away end of 2021, and I kind of like laugh a little bit that he like went out the right time sometime. I mean, I love life. It's not like I'm like miserable today.
Sure.
I'm loving the world, but being in your late 70s, the way that generation is wired and living through all this, being like, what is going on here, people? I'm like, you went out the right. He has no idea about any of this version of the world.
Right. Because it's so different than it was.
Yeah.
So recently. I mean, look back when we were in high school. I mean, you and I are the same age. I mean, smartphones came out when we were in high school. Like I remember I got my first iPhone like when I was 16. And, ever since then, and I've just seen the evolution of how
bougie iPhone at 16.
I know, baby.
What's
I'm
like?
pretty cool. Yeah, I'm a cool guy. 12. Yeah. But we, it's just changed so much, and how it's affected our lives. I mean, it controls us, especially in our industries. I mean,
100%. Yeah, that's why
glued to these things.
That's something I've changed a lot in my life, because I honestly haven't been on a podcast really since you guys. Not because I don't support it or think it's a value or any of those things, but I just started really, really reflecting of why am I posting what I'm posting and what am I doing what I'm doing. Like I'm posting this. Go ahead.
I was gonna say, well, that's a great thing about being on this side, because we have control of that.
100%.
We have, we can control what it is that we're talking about. Just, how we want to talk about it. So it's easier for us, yeah. I mean, I've jumped on podcasts and I'm just like, oh fuck, what did I say?
Especially the last one.
Yeah.
It happens, man.
Yeah. Well, I mean, Ari and I got into some pretty good debates. I mean, like I said, we're good friends, but yeah, we're gonna have different beliefs and different feelings on things, and him and I got into it quite a bit.
It's a 4-hour episode.
4 hours. I mean,
how much of it was debate?
4-hour episode and a lot of whiskey drank.
That's awesome.
Yeah, I would say, I mean, probably a good 2 hours worth of stuff that him and I were going back and forth.
And
on.
I'm just sitting there like,
I felt bad for Zach.
That's what he got.
Front row seat.
Someone's back with cue cards, like put on the boxing gloves. That's awesome. That's awesome.
But I mean, at the end of it, I mean, it's not like. Yeah. We gave each other a hug and we're like, "Oh, that was fun, man. That was awesome. Let's do this again."
Well, I also feel like you guys are kind of both arguing the same thing.
You
guys were both like saying the same thing in like different ways.
I mean, let's look at it. Isn't that what politics is? I mean, everybody, we all kind of want the same thing. We're just coming at it from a different angle.
Yep. I mean, that's the tough thing is like, being in finance too, everyone thinks like, I gotta have such strong opinions in that realm of politics and how it influences my industry because I'm biased and that's what matters the most. And I always just think like, I couldn't imagine being how much I fall short just managing my own life in like my small group of friends. It's like, everyone's like, can you believe that person? It's like, dude, like imagine having to be in charge of a country or be in this position in the first place, plus the influences of the world at your fingertips. And look how short you fall managing your little bubble.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like I always think like, we have so many opinions of people we don't actually know, right? And we let it influence and work us up and all this. Like we think these people are these saints, and it's like none of us are, including the person casting that judgment, right? It doesn't mean I don't sit here and judge at times and all that, but like it goes back to the like, we're all a little messed up. Like we all need grace. This is why I really started pursuing my faith, because I'm just like, and back in the day, earlier in my career, I used to be like, I want to grow and be the guy that changes the industry and all this. And then I was just like, I don't really want to be in that spot. Like I don't think I could handle it. I don't think that I mean, maybe I could handle, but it's all relative. Like, who will I
Do you
become
want to?
through that process?
Do you want to become that person?
Or, as you get older, your values change, right? You think, oh, this is who I am. I'm set in stone, blah, blah, blah. And then a couple of years later, you look back and you're like, man, how much my life has shifted in those couple of years, right?
Just wait till you have kids.
Oh, for sure.
I mean,
that's the biggest life-changing thing I've ever experienced.
Oh, I'm sure.
Yeah.
I can't wait.
I mean, for me, I was a selfish fuck, so it took actually getting divorced for me to realize like the importance of it. But like that was my biggest shift because like you said, I wanted to be the biggest, best loan officer that there was in St. Louis, and I was sacrificing time with my wife, kids, other things, hobbies, and all I did was work. I mean, it was the convenience of it, especially like during COVID. I mean, we're stuck at home. I had this beautiful home office. I would literally wake up at 7, go get a cup of coffee and a protein bar and walk straight into the office. And I was there from 7:15 until I'd come out, put the boys to bed at night, and I'd go right back in there.
Yep.
And I mean, since then, I'm just like, man, I don't need that.
Yep. 100%.
I want time.
Yeah.
My time's already limited with my boys now.
Yeah.
So it's like when I have them, like, it's great with them being in school. Like I have the school hours to work. It's teach me to be more efficient. But at the same time, once I go and pick them up, like I shut that thing down and it's just us. And I mean, like yesterday we were running around all freaking night and it was great. I mean, when I have them on the weekends, like, but so, I mean, it's just, that's my big shift. And that was my big change. And what was important to me, like, it was no longer like, being the biggest, best loan officer out there. It was being the best father and a good loan officer. So.
There's that saying that it's like, do you want to sacrifice, the happiness that you have right now for a life that is going to make you happy? And it's like, you're kind of trading,
Well, then it goes back to what's the, like, is this life going to be what makes you happy or not,
And you don't know until you get there. And then you might get there and you're like, man, this is what I thought I wanted. But now that I'm here, like this isn't it, like.
Well, and this, I keep bringing everything back to faith in my pursuit of Christ, but that's what really even shifted my outlook on even finding the right partner of like, what do I really want in life? Like, is it, do I have to go anywhere to have the life I've always wanted? The answer is no. I already have everything I will ever need right now. The Bible talks about that a lot, but you're like, like that nicer house, that car, these things, the freedom to do this. It's like, but all that will be eventually taken away from you. Like the only thing you'll be remember is that your character, and then like the fruit you produced, right? Outside of your work, which we can debate the days that we're actually doing it to make impact versus like, this is our career and how we make a living.
Right.
But also just like being present, like your kid's never going to be like, oh, thank you for giving me everything versus just being present. Right. Like I hear that from fathers all the time. Now we've grown up, I just wish my parents were more present with me. Right. Then we forget that along the way.
Right.
But something I was thinking about when you were saying all that was, I love the concept of gratitude. I think I talked about it a lot in the last podcast, and it's like, without those struggles, then you would never have a sense of gratitude. Right. And the Bible uses a lot of examples of the worst to create the biggest impact. Like, it's not the person who's like, they've been a saint the whole time, and then look at how they brought value. It's like the thief, the murderer, the cheater, all these people that God used, that it's like they're broken. And then it's like, hey, I want you to be a servant of me. And then they go bring all this value. And I always think like those movies that we love watching, aren't they like, oh, they've been crushing life the whole time. It's like this person who broke to the bottom, to the ground, and then they achieve these great things.
And
it's
that
just
Rocky
like,
cut scene, the Rocky cut scene where it's, 3 or 4, 5 minutes of them, preparing. That's, 5 minutes in the movie, but in real life, that could be a 5-year period.
Right.
And that's like the big difference between, how, movies and reality is like, that Rocky cut scene's just a couple minutes, but in my life, that was a couple years.
I always like to reflect, and I'm not going to quote Dan on it. Dan, who's been on the podcast recently, one of my favorite humans on this planet.
Cool.
When we had the blessing of going to the Amazon together, we're all sitting there in the rainforest. Like, Dan would always be like, guys, we're in the rainforest right now. And I love looking at him saying that because of all the places he's been in the world, like doing crazy stuff. And he just was like, a kid at a candy shop, like, we're in the Amazon. And I was like, I wish I had the childlike wonder that you have. Like, then I was like, what's wrong with me? Why am I not sitting here like, we're in the Amazon?
Right.
But, you know, he was sharing a lot of amazing stories like he did on the podcast. And some of my favorite were about him being a father and how he parents. I look up to him in a lot of ways in that regard. And he talked about how he handled his struggles post-military. You know, the days, like, you know, you go through what he went through. It's not like you come home the same. You would admit that as well. And so there's areas of his life that clearly he even would admit, like, oh man, like, you know, I don't want this to come out, or that, you know, the trauma that comes with war, and how do you not let that bleed into parenting? But that it's all relative for everybody, right? Of like, how do I come with love, but also, you know, I don't want to look weak in front of my son. So how do I use those traumas in a way to empower my son of how do I want you to grow up? And like being able to say like, hey, yeah, this is me falling short. This is, you know, how I'm acting right now. It's not how I want you to be, you know, when he is struggling with some of that, you know, pressure from what he went through, you know, and the way he, and I don't want to quote him on it, but you get the overall essence of what he was trying to say there. And I just was like, wow, you know, a question that I know you guys ask and other people do is like, what is a man and all that? And I think one factor of it is how you handle adversity and like overcoming things, even when you're falling short, and you get back up on the horse and you use that as a lesson, even yourself, to empower the people you love, like your kids, or show up for your partner, of taking ownership and moving forward of like, no, I fell short. Yeah.
I totally agree. Totally agree with you there. Like, you know, I think one of the best skills you can have, and it's certainly something we learned from jiu-jitsu, is being calm in chaos.
Yeah.
You know, and having, when everything's going wrong and everything's, you know, just out of place, and that you're having everything on that day just seems to go the wrong way. You know, can you stay calm, keep your head together, like, and, you know, pursue forward and you know, and face these adversities, you know, cause that's a great definition right there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
100%. 100%. You learn a lot from that sport.
Yeah. I mean, it's taught me so much.
Yeah. I mean, it's been great for me. I mean, it's been the ultimate ego check for sure. Just, you know, you for as, you know, size wise and all that. I mean, I never really consider myself a fighter, but I figured being strong and all that, I'd have an advantage, and there's zero to that. I mean, last Friday, he was coaching the class, and I was the nail multiple times over. But and it was a very rough day.
The blue belts were beating up on him.
Yeah, they were having their way with me. And
hey, enjoy it while it lasts, man.
I'm just like, damn.
Enjoy it while it lasts. The higher that the darker that belt gets, the more you're like, now I got to actually do jiu-jitsu right.
Yeah, but you get a lot better at it.
For
you
sure.
know, like,
for sure.
You know, it just takes time. You know, you get more efficient with your movements. You learn your processes. You learn your systems. You learn, you know, what you like to do. You know, that's kind of what I was telling you over the weekend. I was like, you just need to find one, you know, like one move from every position that like is your go-to, and then you're like, okay, I know how to do this one, and I'm gonna go for that one, and then you know, get very, very good at that one, and then once you're proficient in that one, then you start expanding to other things.
Yep.
You know,
100%.
but you just need one move in every, you know, in every position. Okay, like how do I need a good side control escape. Okay, I need a good, when I'm on mount, what do I do? You know, if I have, you know, if I'm trying to pass someone's guard, what's my favorite way to pass? what works for me and my body type and what I know how to do. And, you know, it just takes time to figure that out, because, you know, and you know, at this point, you've definitely learned, you know, at least something probably in every position, and it's just a matter of,
Getting consistent,
you know, and just sharpening that blade, you know, pounding that steel, you know, you're building a sword, you know, you got to sharpen it. So,
into that.
Yeah, man.
Right now, I'm just in the smash aspect of it.
You're always going to be smashed with people as big as you are.
Just going to be
just comes with it.
Constantly just be as heavy as I possibly can.
The only person our size that can smash is Junior. Junior's like, I'm like, man, I suck. Like, as long as I've been doing this, I'm just like, how do you feel like this? You know, even when he's broken, he's so injured right now, and we haven't rolled in a little bit, but I know if we were, it'd be like, I'd feel pressure of like, you know, I'm over here fragile right now, and it affects my jiu-jitsu. You go against Junior, he could be broken, then you're like
he's
I suck at jiu-jitsu.
Yeah.
Like, man, you know,
like you got a semi-truck on top of you.
You feel like you can go against some people and they're like, how? It's like, there's so many levels to jiu-jitsu. And that's the beauty of it. you know?
No, it's funny because I was watching Trevor roll with Zach, and I was just like, just how slow and methodical and everything he was, but like the whole time he was just, I mean, Trevor's for his size is very thick and strong.
Yeah.
But I wouldn't say he's a big, heavy guy.
No, he's just dense.
He's a
But
$180.
he was just
solid.
smashing the shit out of you.
Yeah.
Yep.
Been on the receiving end of that hundreds of times.
Yeah, we all have those people at us.
But I mean, honestly, like rolling with him has made me so much better.
Yeah.
And like consistently rolling with him, and I've gotten the compliment before. It's like rolling with a lesser version of Trevor, and I'm like, okay, because I mean, a lot of my game is the same shit that he does, just because like we're like the same, very similar body types. And I was like, well, if it works for him, it'll work for me. Well,
that's what's funny about like when you learn from one person. Like most of my game is modeled after Junior because I took those privates. Like I was never a guard player, and I took privates with Junior with collar sleeve and all that stuff. And now all I do is like what Junior taught me. Like I get great value from all the other coaches, especially Nick as well. I've been working a lot of stuff that Nick's taught me, but my primary game came from those privates. So now I'm a guard player and I play funky side because that's how Junior taught me. Yeah. And I'm really just doing Junior's game that he taught me.
Yeah. It fucks with me every time we roll because I'm so used to everybody playing collar sleeve on that other side. And you play it on the side that nobody plays it on. And I'm not used to keeping my elbow and knee connected on that side versus you do it on this side. And I'm like, I'm just fucking spread out.
And the funny thing is I know how to play it the other side, but it would be so uncomfortable for me to do that because it feels unnatural. Like I'm so ingrained to do it on the opposite side that feels like you riding with the right hand.
Because for example, like Kyle, he always passes to the right, you know, and like most people pass to the left.
Yes.
And so it always, and he's like, he started probably doing that strategically because he's like, well, people aren't as good on that side. So it's like, I'm going to take the path of least resistance and go the way that people aren't as good. And it's like such an easy, like switch in your brain to make. I mean, obviously you got to get good at your passes on that side, but like, it's just like an automatic, like easy way to kind of have the advantage, in case you're going against the guy on the place that he's the best at. No, I'm going to put him in a place where he's not as good and I'm going to pass.
Yep. That kind of makes me want to go back to starting to like, how do I make everything the funky side and everything I do to be dude?
Because there's some things
a nightmare.
Well, there's a lot of things, and I've talked about this back when I was teaching a lot. And there's plenty of things that you need to get good at on both sides for sure. Mm-hmm. Like things that you can't dictate where the position's going to be. Like like you should know how to get out of side control on both sides. You know, but like for example, if I'm in mount with no underhooks, like I can work. I can work to get a particular underhook. Like I'm better at finishing a head and arm choke with that arm versus the other one, or like if I have you in close guard, I can play collar sleeve the ways that I want to play. It's like 100%. There's opportunities where, you can dictate which side you pick. Yeah. But there's a lot of opportunities where you can't. Like you're going to be put in that position and you need to have an answer for it.
Oh, for sure. For sure.
Yeah. So
that's awesome. Good stuff.
Yeah. You we kind of always glorify ambition and working hard and stuff like that. But what would be the point where you say where ambition becomes toxic, like where it becomes too much and it takes over your life?
I mean,
because I think everybody sitting at this table could probably say there was a point in time where that was the case.
Well,
where you were working too much and your family suffered or your relationship suffered, or I can certainly think of times in my life where that was the case.
I think it's
example, that just look at me.
Yeah,
I think it's very early on. Actually, I think it's just like most people idolize it in a way that it's like the culture today is just like be tough, get after it, all that. And I get when you're going from not being motivated in life, like that's a great start. But then we keep doubling down on that. It's like do it to build the skill to pursue. After that, keep pursuing, of course, and building and having your goals. But you're fine either. Like, don't forget that you were fine before you ever had these things. Mm-hmm. Like and if you ever lose it, then are you going to be a shell of a man now all of a sudden because you're not this big glorified whatever? This goes back to like the mindset of, since when do you deserve all the, like when we tell ourselves we deserve all these things, that's entitlement ego typically. And I get someone could like nitpick at him like, well, it is relative. It depends on the person's situation. I just think that, when you wake up every day and the first thing you think about is, am I succeeding at business or work? It's just like, Are you starting with gratitude and giving thanks? Are you starting with getting after it? Give thanks before you get after it, because like, you know, then that ego trips in real quickly, you know. The challenge is achieving great things without having that ego. And I don't think you can do that without pursuing God truly, because human beings are naturally so selfish. So that is the challenge. And then I think there's, as you get a little bit older, your priorities change, right? Like you guys are parents. So then it's becoming, how can I be there for my children, right? But ambition is tough, right? I think ambition is important to get you working. Outside, and then, you know, it's just the idolization. But I think most people are idolizing way before they realize it. They're just like, oh, I don't idolize. And I'm like, well,
You are.
Sounds
you
like
are.
it. Sounds like it. Yeah.
Like, it's like, I don't idolize social media. You know, even though I'm more off of it than I used to be. But yet, usually when I'm walking my dog, instead of looking at the sky or the trees or whatnot, I'm just scrolling as I'm walking my dog. You know, and then most people go, oh, that's me every time. And then I go, exactly. Like we're all not that original. We're all struggling mostly with the same things. My pains, you know, all this doesn't devalue it, but it goes back to like the principles of pulling back and sitting and being present for just a moment. Like if we had $1 for how many times this year I'm going to do this, like in terms of character building, and then you never do. And then I even used to break down like the whole, Matt and I had I think it was beginning of this year. And I bet if I sat with him right now, Matt Joe, like how good have we done on it? I bet we'd both be like, we failed miserably at it. And it was die daily. It's a perspective in the Bible. Wake up just do your best today and die to your flesh and the world in pursuit of God. Like one thing I'm working on right now, and I've already failed it many times this week, is how can I enter every room and before doing so, pray to God and be like, how can I be a servant of yours? Like nothing else I do matters. Like ultimately I want to glorify you and be a light for others. Not like, how can I win? What can I get out of this for me today? You know, like who cares? How can I serve? How can I serve? And my goal was for every room, pray that thing. I even was like, I'm gonna do that before I got on this podcast. Already failed that. At least I'm talking about it now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
However, you know, it's so hard. Like we're like, oh, we're going to do this week. It's like just one day at a time. Our attention spans, especially because of social media, are so short. Just like today, like how can I just be what I always prayed that I could be and how I want to approach life? You know, and it's so hard, at least for me being as ADHD as I am. I'm like, let's go do all these things. And it's just like, dude, everything's a muscle. The same thing with jujitsu. It takes time. And then when we beat ourselves up, when we fall short, and it's just like, hey, I already knew, even if we were honest with it, we already knew we were going to fall short. Like everything takes time. It's just getting back on the horse and trying again tomorrow. Like I don't want to give up on that like plan of like die daily, wake up. I almost got to write on a whiteboard. Not like, am I going to make this much money this year or achieve these goals or do this? It's just like the simple stuff of just like, how, you know, am I being who I say I am or what I preach and hope to be, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I was just having this conversation too, but like for me, it was, you know, I don't have a fear of failing. I mean, shit, I grew up playing a sport where you fail all the time.
Yeah.
And then
And the pressures with it.
right. And then got into a career where most fail after 2 years.
Yep.
And got into doing podcasts where most people can't even make it 20 episodes. And here we are 10 times that.
Yeah.
You know,
That's awesome.
so like
Congrats.
all the things that I've done in my life have been geared towards failure.
Mm-hmm.
And so for me, you know, like yesterday, my goal was to make 10 phone calls. I did not make 10 phone calls. For me, in my mind, like, oh, yeah, I failed. But then, you know, you come back and look at it and be like, you know what? That's all right. Because if I let that failure define me, then yes, I'm a failure. But I'm going to come back and be like, all right, you know what? I'll make those calls up tomorrow.
Yep.
So for me, you know, and this is what I was debating with Ariane on, you know, he's like, well, if you lose or you fail, you're a loser. I said, no, you're only a loser if you let that failure define you that way. But if you're not learning from it and moving through it and learning how to be better at it, so like,
and being self-aware enough,
right? Exactly, and
which is what you were doing,
right? And that's what most people don't have. Like, just because you fail doesn't mean you're a failure.
100%.
It just means that, hey, I mean, shit, fuck, Thomas Edison, the inventor of the light bulb. What was it? 10,000 tries,
something like that.
Something like
That's
that.
a great
Like,
example,
right?
Yeah.
Like he that dude's not a loser. He's not a failure.
Yeah.
He's like, I just learned 10,000 ways not to make a light bulb. And so it's just, I don't know. I just that mindset shift. But also, I
wonder
think
if that's why he's on the $10 bill.
maybe
Just go to Dagestan for 2-3 years. That's all you got to do. You'll never fail again.
Yeah. But no, I mean, it's for me, like, that's breaking down those goals and making them even simpler, because like the simpler they are, the more likely you are to compete them. And then, like Chris talked about in his speech, celebrate those things.
100%.
Like, that's the thing is that we get away from, is that we set these massive goals and we finally get to them, but then what do? We fucking kick it further out.
Yeah.
So it's like we're never quite really getting there, and we're like, get to that goal, celebrate that goal.
Well, we're naturally hardwired to beat ourselves up when we fail and then not celebrate when we win. It's like, oh man, do better and all this stuff. Even if we learn from it, it's just like, but it still lingers in the back of your head. Like, dude, like way more than that win. It's like, well, I expected that to happen.
Right.
Like I knew that was going to happen, Yeah.
I mean, we've all achieved goals that said would make us happy.
Yeah. And then it's what's the next?
What's the next? We just
What's
kick,
next?
We just kick that can down the road and move that goalpost. And, I mean, is it just we keep moving that goalpost until we die?
Yeah.
I mean, that's kind of what it is.
That's what most people do. Yeah.
Yeah, that was that speech this weekend that we went to was incredible. Now granted, like, a lot of it was from stuff that he's talked about on his podcast.
Mm-hmm.
Do you listen to his podcast at all?
No, it's so funny. Someone, like, I was going into, he's like, what do you do for a living? I was sharing, like, I'm self-aware enough the way I talk. You'd think I don't think I come off as like the smartest or all these things. I think it seems like I know what I'm saying to some regard, but like, I think people think I listen to all these podcasts and speakers and read all these books. And I'm like, nah, man, I just observe my surroundings and I'm self-aware enough of what doesn't work and just keep moving forward somewhat. But I'm working on it.
Yeah.
I used to a lot more, but I know who he is, and
I would say if there's one, that would be a good one to get into, just because a lot of it is around like, he's very philosophical, like, and a lot of the conversations that he has is around, it's modern wisdom. So it's talking about the way we think and the way we use our minds to get better. So,
and it's very focused on men.
Yes.
And just kind of like the struggles men go through, and, the stuff that, very similar to what we talk about on this show, the stuff that's hard to talk about for a lot of people.
Oh yeah.
And, that's why I really like it. I mean, I've been a pretty avid listener for several years now, and it was just an incredible weekend. I'm really glad we got to.
That's awesome. I'm happy
to go experience that, and I got to hang out with him for a little bit, and it was just a great weekend.
Yeah,
I think more men need that, like, tribe where they're authentically honest, and then also to check each other when, like, oh man, what will they think, or this or that, and like, you need a group that you can be raw with, or at least have a therapist. I'm actually seeing my therapist after this today. I love talking about going to therapy, because even when I can be thriving, it's like, well, am I building my life on a solid foundation?
Now, do you go to a faith-based?
Yeah, she is faith-based. And I've been going to her since I graduated college, so she knows all of my chaos and stories. But I do love, because we all have wirings that come from our childhood, ways we approach our life because of, the lessons and values that our parents taught us. And then also how the world shaped us. Right. And so there's nurture versus nature. True. But that can make it challenging to, at times, to accept certain things about who you are, but also how do we build the habits going forward, knowing that we are wired a certain way. Like, I'm very ADHD. I can be very OCD in ways, and I can very loop thoughts and get fixated on a lot of things. Knowing that at first I'm like, is this just how I'm wired? That is a very common trait with people who are severe ADHD, because our brains are moving so fast. we loop on a thought and we get fixated until it can torment us. And so it's, how can you recognize those things? Well, you can read a book and all this stuff, but it's so easy to dismiss versus having a conversation with someone looking at you and saying like, let's ask questions. Why are you feeling that way? Like, where's that coming from? Hey, you give yourself some grace. You do realize this is how you're wired or XYZ, but I know you've talked about therapy before. We've talked about that together, and it makes such a tremendous
It's huge
difference.
That's huge. I mean, if you would have met the Pat prior to getting into therapy and even prior to the divorce, you'd been like, man, this guy's a fucking asshole. Like, seriously, I was in my own way. I mean, I was, I was selfish in my pursuits on what I wanted without taking much thought into how that was affecting other people around me. And, I feel like I've always been pretty emotionally intelligent.
Yeah.
But like, it was almost like that part of my brain was blocked for like 5 years.
Yeah. It's funny that you say that because my experience of getting to know you, you've been always wonderful to be around. Like, I thoroughly enjoy my time with you. And some of like people I've enjoyed to be around the most are like, oh dude, I was a menace back in the day.
Oh, yeah.
And it just like shows for people who feel stuck in that state now of like, oh man, can I even change? Look at who I am. It's like, as if there's not countless stories of people who've gone down crazy roads and then they change their life around. And it's like, man, you're such a awesome person to be around. Well, it's probably because they knew what life was like when they weren't pursuing that path. Aaron all the time tells me like, you know why you're going to be a great father one day is because all the things that happen to you, it's going to make you emphasize working on these things so much more than if those things had not happened to you or you had not done X, Y, Z. And it's so easy to focus on the other stuff versus like how it's going to help build you up to go do good.
Mm-hmm.
No,
I mean, again, it's using those past either whether traumas or lessons and improving from them
100%
instead of letting them define you. I mean, shit, we had Jeremy Johnson on here, perfect example of that, not letting his past dictate who he became.
Yep.
And he was incredible. I really enjoyed sitting down with him and chatting with him and talking with him about all that stuff and where he came from. And what was cool about it was he's like, I think this is probably the first podcast or first time I've ever spoken about growing up in a trailer park.
Yeah.
And coming from that environment.
Yeah.
And being raised by my grandma. And I was like, well, that's pretty cool that we get people that want to come on and be vulnerable with us like that. So
100%. That's awesome.
Yeah. One thing I've always wanted to ask you, because, you really, meeting you honestly changed my life. And I've thought about this a lot because, I mean, we met each other in jiu-jitsu. You just kicked the shit out of me there.
He was a big fan of me when we first met.
Yeah, not really. But, we got to know each other after a while, and you introduced me to Alex, who kind of became my mentor in real estate. Like, you found out I got my real estate license, and you're like, you found out I was, you're working with your grandma. She's, kind of on the tail end of her career, and she's like,
need
no,
someone newer and fresh.
Yeah, and
I remember that conversation.
You told me you got me in touch with Alex, and that relationship with him, it kind of set me on the course that I'd say I'm still on today, and it was just a very life-changing moment for me, and introducing me to someone who mentored me and kind of showed me the way and how to do this and how to kind of think about the world differently. Was there a mentor in your life that kind of put you on this path? Whether it be in business or elsewhere.
The real answer would be no, actually. I think a lot of it came from what I was not given and feeling depression and like a lot of kind of more negative, sad thoughts because I had people who mentored me in certain ways to like get me marching down a path I was wanting to go. Like I had my bodybuilding mentors with Kit Kitson and Tony Friedrich. And then when I got sponsored with First Form with Andy, and then in business with Brett Harry and all these people along the way to push me along the lines. And everyone had their moments, but direct of like, hey, you're struggling, you need some guidance and help. The one gift God gave me that I'm so grateful to have despite all of my failures is being introspective enough of how do I make something good of this? Otherwise, you're just miserable all the time. Like, what's the fruit here? What's the fruit? Maybe that was the point of it all, I guess. And then my childhood best friend, James, who when I felt I was at rock bottom and I was like this freak of nature, like there's something wrong with me. Why am I not like the other kids? You know, even to a point where my mom, I remember one time going to people she just met of like, yeah, we were worried about his development. like I was just that kid who looked like a ghost, like kind of like abnormally thin, baggy clothes, just like that kid that you kind of look at it like someone should pray for him, you know, without even pursuing faith. And then bodybuilding was just like my version of self-abuse to feel like I had something valuable to offer. But like going through all of that because the other decision is to give up, and that scared the crap out of me. But also living like the way I was scared the crap out of me. And I was like, I just got to go do something with all this. So I know that's a long-winded way of getting to the question I'm about to answer, but that's usually a typical kind of response. Is no, there wasn't. What it was just always feeling like you gotta pull up your boots, step forward and make something happen. And I just thought how tough life can be, feeling like you're always doing things on your own. One thing my parents did very much instill is like, no, oh, your life is tough, you know, figure it out and toughen up and get going, you know. And I'm grateful I got that value because it allowed me to keep going. But some days it's just like, hey, I got you. Like, how can I be a resource? And I just thought all the times where I see other people who had their friends and they're for each other. And I was just like, I wish someone would just help me out. Like, I need some help. Does anyone have perspective? Like, life is so hard to do it on your own. And I thought the one thing I just wish was someone would be there for me. You know, just somebody like help. And I thought like that was the one thing I wanted most of my life more than anything else, was just someone to like, and I always go back to my childhood best friend, James, because he's the first time I felt like I had like truly a real friend of like, I see you. Like, which made me for once not feel like some outcast of a human being. And that changed everything. That like really changed the trajectory, not him directly trying to do that, but like me kind of being reflective of what did this friend do for me? And it was like, it was fundamental to the entire trajectory of my life. And I was just like, how can you go do that for people? Like, if you don't want to feel like a piece of crap, go be valuable to others. I always say, like, if you're sad, go serve. Like, you know, like if you're sad, go serve, you know,
selfishly, you being not selfish, you're selfishly being non-selfish, you know.
Yeah.
It's gonna make you feel
and you
better,
feel
you know?
valuable, even if there's a little self-absorbed component to it of like, oh, now I feel good because I'm helping. But serving makes you feel better, and it takes literally nothing out of your day to go help someone. And you know, some could say like, oh, you do enough. It's like, but you can always do way more than you do. You know, and then I always, even in my life group right now, Bible study group, there's just some people, man, I'm getting coffee with a few of them later this week. And the way their servant heart is of like, oh, we're going to go spend time with family. And they're just so focused on helping and giving to the homeless over the next week or two. And just like prioritizing it themselves instead of like, oh, I can do that this afternoon today. Like, you know, oh, I'm busy. And it's like, well, they're busy too. And they got kids, you know, and I'm over here like, man, you know, like I could go give and help more. And so a lot of it was just that passive of knowing, you know, sometimes we keep looking elsewhere. We just got to reflect on what we're going through and how we feel by it, of knowing like what works and doesn't, and like showing up for others and knowing you can always, you know, like that friend that's like, they'd have my back. They'll be there for me, you know, like go do that. It's worth more than anything else you can provide. You know, so that really anchored a lot of how I started approaching life, was just like, I don't know a lot, but you don't have to know a lot to go help somebody, you know?
Sometimes it's just being there and listening.
Yeah. Yeah. 100%. Yeah.
Ask a question and let them talk. And I think that's, I mean, and I was just having this conversation last night with a friend. I think that's where I think a lot of men are afraid to open up and talk. And I think that's, you know, I mean, I know I couldn't do that in my first marriage. I just didn't, we just didn't have that, we just never had that kind of relationship.
Yep.
And, you know, it's just like finding your people, finding a person that you can talk to, finding somebody that you can open up. I think that's why I enjoy therapy so much, because that's like one person that I know
Mm-hmm.
for sure that I could always sit down and talk to,
100%.
and without any judgment, without anything. And, it's been like, that's why therapy is so important. But yeah, give it, be that person that will sit there, be that friend, because I think inherently we all want to help people.
Yes.
I think that's just something inherently in all of us.
Yeah, and don't be afraid to ask people questions, because I
No.
think that was something you and I spoke about on our drive home this weekend. Was like naturally, you and I are the same way. And Connor, I'd love to hear your opinion on this, but like most men, at least that I know, like I feel like we have to, if we want to get vulnerable and emotional, or like if we're having a conversation with our significant other, like, and they're wanting us to be vulnerable, it's like we almost need to be prompted to know. Like I know I'm naturally not just gonna like spill my heart out out of nowhere. Like you have to ask me a question, and I have to like really think about it and answer, in a truthful way for you to really like get my, to get whatever is inside of me out. Like I'm not just gonna spill that out. Like you need to be prompted, and I think being good at asking questions is a really valuable skill. I've really learned, especially doing this, because that's kind of what this is.
Yep.
Is just asking good questions and having conversation.
But not just that, but being a listener, to listen to understand and not to just respond.
Yes.
Listening to understand somebody, and like in dating and relationships. Like, it's just as simple as like, well, one, hey, are you wanting me to show up for you as someone that's going to offer advice and guidance, or are you just wanting someone to listen to? And most of the time, if you ask a woman that, they're honestly just going to say, I just need somebody to listen.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And all you got to do is just like, hey, listen to understand, and be like, you know what? I can understand why that may be affecting you. I can understand why that bothers you. And that's as simple as it is.
People just want to feel heard.
Right.
Yeah.
And that's the thing, is I think men are programmed in a way that, like, hey, that's what we have to do for our partners. But I don't think it's always reciprocated.
Yep.
Right. I mean, our natural reactions to solve the problem.
Yeah.
Like I hear her, going through something, or something's bothering her. My mind immediately goes to, all right, well, what's the solution? How do we fix this?
Yep.
And I've realized, in my almost 15 years being with Gina, that like she doesn't always, she rarely wants a solution. She just wants me to listen to her. And man, that sucks.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like she said that to you, that's pretty shitty, or whatever it is.
Yeah.
She just wants to.
Most of the time, they already know the solution.
Yeah.
They just want to vent and get it off their chest.
Yeah.
And I don't think that men truly have an outlet like that unless you have a partner that's asking you those same questions. Because, quite frankly, if no one's asking me those questions, I'm just going to handle it on my own, like I've always done.
Yeah.
But it's nice, like you said, like just to have somebody that help me.
Yep.
And I think that's the part too where relationships, can fail, is like, hey, if you've got one person they're constantly opening themselves up, or like being there to listen and understand, but it's not being reciprocated, you're going to start getting people shut down.
Yep.
And I mean, I can't remember, I can't tell you how many times like I've been in relationships where I've been trying, and then it just gets cut off, and then it's like flips back to them, and I'm like, all right, that's fine, go ahead.
Yep.
And then, like I said, I was having a really long conversation with a friend last night, and they were just like, just tell them to shut the fuck up. I'm like, do you really think I could say that to a woman? Like, well, if they're truly your partner and like you got that kind of relationship, you should be able to at least say it in some sort of way, like, hey, I'm not done. I need to finish this. And so, but yeah, I mean, I think that's for me. And I was talking to Zach about this. I think that's why, I haven't, been able to develop that connection with somebody, is just because I don't feel like I've gotten to that where I've been permitted to be vulnerable.
Yeah.
I've allowed them to be vulnerable, but
Yeah.
it's not always reciprocated. And, because it always, again, there's some women that again, they go to solution. We all think, honestly, like, because just in my experience, they go to solution based thinking as well.
Yeah.
Like, as soon as someone starts bringing them a problem, the first thought is like, how do we solve this problem?
Yeah.
And, well, maybe it's just the type A women that I've dated, but they they go to solution based problem solving, instead of just like, just shut the fuck up and let me talk. Like, just be quiet.
Yeah.
Just, I need to get this off my chest.
Yeah.
And honestly, I think that's a lot of it. And that's why men bottle shit up and they don't talk about it and things get bad. So just fuck both sides.
Yeah.
The first question you should ask, all right, do you want me to listen to understand, or are you wanting solutions or advice?
Yeah.
And that's probably the best thing that I learned from therapy was like, that's how you need to start asking those questions. When you start getting into those conversations, ask that. Do you want do you want solution and advice, or do you just want me to listen? And he's like 95% of the time, they're probably just going to say, can you just listen?
100%. Well, I think, I mean, the longer you know you're with that partner, right, you end up knowing the cues and whatnot. My way of saying that, I think, is just like, how can I show up for you? Like, how can I be there for you in this moment? You know, so I make, you know, it's like, so I make sure I'm respecting and I'm being the support that you need. Like, there's always a soft, loving way to do those things. And like, I know for Aaron and I specifically, I don't think we could have the relationship we are having without pursuing God in our relationship, because it creates a level of humility of like, how would Christ show up for her or for me in this moment? So it's like, okay, instead of looking at it from my perspective, my worldly perspective, like, how gentle and loving is God trying to support this person? What are they going through? Because the world is gonna beat us up over and over again. Like, there's gonna be plenty more stories coming, but that peace comes from somewhere, right? And so for her and I, a lot of these things, we are very vulnerable with each other in a way I've never been with any partner. And so for me, I'm ironically enough the opposite. Sometimes I can go down the path of oversharing and all these things where it's like, okay, then you also have to be the balance of not overburdening your partner, of like making them carry all of this weight, this baggage of what you're going through. But it's a balance of like, how do you communicate? Because they also want to Aaron really wants to make sure that she's able to be there for me. And I want her to feel that way and her to know that as well. But there's that fine-tuned balance, as I would tell her, of I want to be emotionally available and open and share with you, you know, but some days I'm going to have hard days, and that's okay. And I know you want to fix these things and help me through it all, but also it's not your job, because then now you're my therapist, you know, but there is that balance. It doesn't mean close off and no, I just got to bootleg it, right? Hey, this is the general gist of what I'm going through. Right. We don't got to talk through it every time and all that, because I have some own personal stuff I'm going through even right now. And even though that she's just like, I just wish I could help you through this more. And I'm like, honey, you've already, by giving me a space to feel accepted, you know, but as I'm going through it, we don't got to rehash everything. You know, a lot of this is also the wiring of my brain and how the devil wants to attack and beat me up, you know. It's, you know, talk about spiritual warfare. And I used to sit here and be like, oh, you know, like there's different parts of the Bible that people struggle with. And man, I feel like the devil's been out to get me more than ever as I've been pursuing this relationship with Aaron, because we have such a pursuit of God in our relationship that it, you know, as I was getting close to engagement, every different step, it's like my brain comes with all the reasons of like, man, do you deserve a relationship like this? Or like all these different things of like, where is this coming from? And it's just like, but the closer to her, like, you know, this is kind of cheesy because it comes from a song, but I reflect on a lot. Like I don't even know the song. It's like the closest thing to heaven that I've ever, you know, it's like outside of Christ, like she is the closest existence that God and Christ is real that I've ever experienced in my life, because of how she approaches love and grace and acceptance with me in a way that I was like, shit, I thought I knew what love was. I clearly did not. And I even tell her why it took me so long at certain stages to finally get to those next stages, is because I'm like, you weren't the first person I've ever told I loved, but I clearly didn't know what love meant.
Yeah, no,
I clearly did not know what love meant. I think a lot of men too, it's like, oh, why were you staying in this abusive relationship for so long? Because of, we lie to ourselves it's better than being by ourselves, because we truly don't enjoy being by ourselves. And we get on social media and being like, we want a companion. And two, most likely sex. Like, oh, we get to be intimate together. This is great. We're having fun. And that's what relationships end up becoming, is all about sex and fun, instead of why was this here in the first place? Companionship. Yeah. Intimacy is a part of it, but actually not the core of it.
Oh.
You know, it is true companionship, and also building that family, you know, and bringing values to the world, right? Like that's what it's about. But like, that's not how the dating culture is anymore. And people go, well, that's not how culture is. I go, Well, then look at where people put their values in their life. Like, it kind of sounds cheesy. I say most people need to pursue their faith and then find a partner pursuing their faith, because you know they at least have some level of humility versus like, I am my own God. You know, like, oh, I don't need that. It's like, well, you know, like prior to finding Aaron, I was like, I will not pursue a partner that doesn't pursue God, because how do I pursue this and then have a partner who's just like, yeah, I don't care about that stuff. It's just like, then what do you care about? Oh, we're gonna build a house, you know? Well, that, you know, then like every new thing we get in this life eventually becomes stale, and it goes back to our goals of what's next.
Right.
You know what I
And
mean?
I think you've already completed goals that you said would make you happy.
Yeah.
You know, it just kind of comes back to that.
And I even go to the whole thing with having kids. I can't wait to be a dad, and I hope that God blesses me with children, both of us, Aaron and I. But I'll tell her then and again and again and again, even on this podcast, that heaven forbid there's some reason that we can't. You know, because it's like, well, we're gonna have a family, and people forget that, like, well, what if they can't?
Yeah.
And I'm not
Happens
saying
all
that's
the
Aaron
time.
my situation, but
But
you don't know until
yet.
you have kids.
You don't know yet. I mean,
And I'm like, if we get blessed with that, awesome. But what if, like, well, all this is about pursuing to have kids? And of course you can adopt all those things, but like, let's just go back to then it's like, well, what if you can't? Then what? Then what do
Right.
you value in all of this world? So this always goes back to, like, you know, outside of relationship, like there's not many things of this world that can sustain you,
right.
or at least you can lie to yourselves that it can,
Right.
you know?
But you can only keep that life for so long before it just
Yeah.
eats you up.
Yeah. Yeah. But that's what's brought the best in me in this relationship with Erin, and why I'm so eternally blessed to have her in my life, is because, not because of how much fun we have or all that stuff. Like, of course I love all that, but it's more so because of that, like, faith pursuit and understanding it, like, in grace, which is a hard concept for me to accept. I'm working on learning to accept grace better in my life personally.
what does that mean for you?
Grace of just like, hey, you're human. Like, you're going to fall short. It's okay. Like, cause I was raised in a household where you fall short with, like, let me tell you how you failed, of how you've fallen short. And so that's how my brain's hardwired of, like, you know, what's going on, man. And then it's those mental battles. And so for me, it's like, even though you can remove yourself from the situation, look at it and be like, it's so much easier to give advice to other people than take your own advice. Of like, hey man, it's okay. It's all good. But in your own head, it's like, dude, what's wrong with you, man? Do better. And then it's like, was that what you'd say to a friend? No, not at all. I'd be like, dude, it's okay. You're good. I said, and I'm sure Dan will be okay with me saying this. I was on the phone with him. I was like, and I'm not going to go into all of his whole life or anything, but going back to the theme of what he's been through and done and all that. And he's not a guy who's like, look at me, look how awesome I am. He's so grounded for all the amazing, like,
Right.
Yeah.
feats he's accomplished in
For
life.
sure.
Like, he's incredible. I love bragging about him. But I said to him the other day, because I felt like no one probably was saying it. Like, when that podcast came out, everyone's talking about it. Dan, like, look at you. And knowing Dan, I bet he was like, I called him up. I was like, dude, I bet it's kind of uncomfortable to get all this, like, praise and whatnot, because you don't give me the vibe that you're like, hell yeah, look at me. I bet you're just like, man, like, if only they knew, like, whatever. And I said to him on the phone, I was like, dude, regardless of what you've done in life, this or that, the man I know has inspired me to be a better man, and in spite of the good and bad of who you are. Like, and there is nothing that you can do that will ever take away me being in your corner. Because if all relationships was I'm in your corner as long as you're this person.
Right.
But if you fall short in life, then like, oh, sayonara, then you feel like you're walking on eggshells all the time. And I think that's what can prevent men from opening up at times is it's just like, do I got to be this person? Or it's like, if only they knew the real me. I just was like, hey, dude, you deserve this praise, even though you probably feel like you don't. I also want you to know that even if magically your life went to shambles, which I don't think it ever will, but if it did, because we all have those moments,
Right.
It's like, dude, I got you, man. Figure out, like, how do we get back on the horse?
Right. That's what a true friend
This
is,
is-
man.
And I don't think we remind each other, because I think a lot of people feel that way, but they just don't say it. You know?
It all goes back to communication.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
communicate with people, talk to them, ask the
Mhm.
questions, say the things.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
I really think that's one of the most important skills you can have is just the ability to communicate. I mean,
Absolutely.
it can help you in every aspect of your life, financially, with your relationships, with your just, it all comes down to how do you communicate in this world? How do you get your point across? How do you express yourself? How do you, and I think that that's a skill nowadays where I think like younger generations with everybody on their phone constantly I think that they're missing that piece.
Yeah.
Yeah. The humanality of it, everything's through a
Through
screen.
a screen, yeah.
And, I don't know. They don't, some people put things out there that, don't realize what your words can do to somebody.
Oh,
And
for
it's
sure.
it's so different when you text something versus when you say
Right.
something.
Yeah.
When you
Oh,
write
for
something
sure.
out, it's different. And especially when you post it out there, it doesn't, there's that piece of you that's like, oh, I didn't really say it. I mean, I said it, but it wasn't me saying it. It's just I'm just putting it out. I just texted it. It's just a
Yeah.
text message or
It's
whatever
my
it is.
alter ego
Yeah,
putting that out
but
there.
like
What I
versus
want people to see.
right.
Yeah.
And I mean, just communication is just such a valuable skill.
And
Sorry, I
just
didn't mean to cut you off.
being careful too of what we say. I've because of childhood stuff and traumas and all that. Like, there's definitely certain words that can trigger me that no one would ever know, because it's so easy to look like fine and down. You're like, and I'll go to my therapist and all that. And I talk to Aaron more about it of like certain things that can trigger me, but nobody would ever know. Like,
No.
I'm straight faced and whatnot. But it reminds me of, like, this goes back to why I want to pray and walk in a room, because it's so easy to joke a certain way and yada, yada, this or that. But even though you think it's nothing, it's like we all have our stories and things that have happened to us that some of us will never know about each other. And then it's like we're joking around certain topics, and that could be like deeply affecting it. And like, if you produce fruit in this world, it should never hurt someone. But so often we talk about things that we know could, but like, oh, this is a cool, and it's like, it's so important to be careful of what we say when we're in certain rooms.
Absolutely.
At the end of the day, it's like, it's up to you. A sermon recently at our church, Twin Rivers, that Pastor Joe said that I loved was like, here's your two circles. Regardless of what happens on the outside, it's up to you whether it affects you or not. Like, no one's saying you have to feel this way. Not saying that you're not validated in those feelings, but this is why I like to go to therapy.
Yeah.
Of like, why do I feel the way that I do? Like, for the things that are affecting me in my life right now, a lot of what I'm working through with my therapist is, why is my brain wired the way it is to make me feel the way I am? And is it justified? And if it's not, then how do we rewire my brain to not make me feel this way about XYZ, versus just like reinforcing that pathway by just adopting that as a truth of like, anytime this happens, this is how I feel. Then it's becoming more a deeper part of who you are, versus how do I rewire? Not to get in the whole, like, our brains are plastic and all that, like,
Yeah.
it's like, look, it's just amazing. It's like, hey, instead of talking about this stuff, let's actually do the rewiring. Let's
Right.
actually work on it. Instead of adding some cool new term to something, let's just like actually fix our shit,
Right.
And instead of being like, look how amazing, we get on social media and air, like I could sit here and get on social media, look how amazing. And
Right.
I was this guy and I'm this, and look at what I've accomplished as a Christian. And instead of, it's just like, thank you, Lord. Like, all right, what's next? What do I need to work on next? Like,
Right.
I am so much more careful on what I post on social media now, because I really have to ask myself why I do it. Like, in everything I share and post. That's why I don't really like post any stories at all now. Because I used to post, it's me at jiu-jitsu. Like, because I love jiu-jitsu, and jiu-jitsu people love to tell the world how awesome jiu-jitsu is,
Yeah.
And then if I had $1 for how many, it even says Revive Jiu-Jitsu on my Instagram, and then I tag Revive, and people all the time, so what gym do you go to? And then it's like no one actually pays attention to anyone's stories.
Well, everybody's so focused on themselves.
Exactly.
Because that's really what, we always worry about what people think about us, but nobody's thinking
No one
about you
cares
as
that
much
much.
as you are thinking about
100%. Right. And that's where we can get our own heads of like playing out how the world's going to be. And it's like, even my therapist is like, it's probably not how it's going to work out, but let these fantasies go awry in your
Right.
head, but that's what made me stop posting Revive at times. Not saying I don't want to support the team but I was just like, no one's paying attention. So if you already know people, and then all of a sudden I was going to take a picture, and then I was like, well, if no one's paying attention to this, other than all my friends who are at Revive already hearting my picture, it's like, it's literally everyone who's already there hearting it. So then it's like, what is this? So me posting this, what is this actually doing? Or does it secretly make you feel good? It's like, yeah, I'm at jiu-jitsu right now. Look at me.
That's my mini celebration.
Yeah.
For me making
Well,
it.
But it's everyone,
right?
it's everyone
Right.
different. At that point, for
Right.
me, I was just like, I've been doing this forever. I already know I'm going to be there. Like, and all, like, it's not even like it's more of not like, oh, I got you. It's more of like, well, I don't know what else I'm going to do. Like, and so I had to start really questioning, why am I posting any of what I'm doing? Like, truly. Now, for me, at least Instagram is a way that I see some events going on, keep up with a couple sports I like, and then it's a way so I can, like, if I'm going to make a post on my Instagram, a story or a post, it's so if I want to reference a moment in my life that I love, instead of me going through my 10,000 photos that I don't need, it's me to quickly reference, like, hey, this was our Brazil triple. Let me click this bubble real quickly. It's not like when I'm going on that trip, hey, look at all my highlight reel. It's like, hey, let me show you a cool moment so we can reminisce in it. But for me, that's what social media has become, because it can be so, even now, even though I don't pay attention to most of what's on there, I still have the habit of scrolling at nonsense.
Yeah.
Yep. We all do, I think.
Oh, we all do. As much as like, I've said this before, and it makes me laugh how much the things that we say we don't value, we're still addicted to.
I agree.
You're just like, oh, I'm over this. This goes back to the humility thing of like, bro, like you're like only like a quarter of the way there of your removal from this affecting your life.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I want to go back to something you were saying there, but like, we're at like, why? That was the common question you kept asking. And that was a question that I always asked when I grew up, and it got to the point where my dad got tired of answering. So he'd just be like, physics. That's what his answer was. Like, why? Well, physics. And I'm like, well, why? And he's like, because it's physics.
Yeah.
And so, but like, I think more people, especially like what you mentioned was, why is this bothering me? And that's all I do is ask myself why every single day. Like, I'm sitting there like, why didn't I make those 5 phone calls today? I got to sit back and reflect on it. Oh, why was that a problem? And why? And just continue to ask myself why until I can get to the base of it and then reflect on it. And that's, I mean, that's how I've worked on rewiring things. Like, what's what I've been doing over the last handful of years to get myself to the place that I'm at now. And it's been one of the greatest things. It's like, I've always asked this question. I've always asked it of others. Why the hell am I not asking it of myself? And if you can just, you ask yourself why one time, and then you answer that why, and then you ask yourself that why again, and you continue to, eventually you'll get to that.
Yeah.
And I think it's one of the greatest questions people can ask themselves, and they're not.
Well, I think this gave me a perspective of why do we like to show up for others? Because a lot of people deep down, like, at least those at the right place, because there's some people who are truly just that selfish. Like, because you want to be a friend, right? Where there's one way to be selfish with yourself versus showing up for yourself as a friend. I feel like by asking that why, that means you have to be a friend to yourself. I don't think a lot of people are. This goes back to like, do you enjoy time by yourself, with yourself? Like,
I'll be honest.
Can you be a friend with yourself? Like, do you even know how to be your own friend?
I think those that can conquer loneliness and like can handle being alone, that's a superpower.
Yeah.
Because if you're good enough, if you're okay with being alone, then you're only going to have the people in your life that you want in your life,
100%.
not that you need.
Yeah.
And so, I mean, shit, I'm very good at being alone.
Yeah. Well, you look at social media. Like, I laugh all the time. We're doing this like very micro, small wedding, and people are like, "How do you do that?" Like, you know, so many people. I was just like, well, for me with this wedding specifically, we wanted people that have helped fostered our relationship specifically. Otherwise, then I got to pick and choose.
Right.
Like, why is this person versus that person and all that stuff. Like, if I really had it, there's a lot more people I'd want. But it was really just like our Bible study group and all that. And I look at my Instagram, and it's like I have 2,000 some people that follow me, apparently. Put aside the people I follow, because there's accounts that like, it's like, you know, this is F1 or this is a UFC fighter. But like the people who follow you, it's definitely not these sports. You know, I don't know 2,000 some people that Like,
Right.
who are all these
Right.
people? Like, let alone maybe a couple hundred, if that I actually even built any, but like,
Right.
who literally are these people?
Are you familiar with Dunbar's number?
No.
So there's, this hypothesis that we can really only remember like 100 to 150 names at a time, or like
Interesting.
people or names at a time. And the theory is that it's because, we grew up in, or we not grew up, but we humanity developed in tribes, and, we were in these small tribes of people, could be anywhere from like 50 to 150 people. And, you knew everybody in your tribe. And nowadays, we're just, especially with social media, we're, inundated with just so many people, like 2,000 people. How are you going to, like, I certainly have, a ton of people on my
Yeah.
social media that I think I went to high school with this guy, but like, it sounds familiar. I don't
Yeah.
really remember it. It's like, there's so many people. We can only remember so many.
Yeah.
And I think that's, there's some like science behind that we can only remember so many names.
100%. I mean, I remember actually there was this one gentleman who was like, hey, like, can we be friends and whatnot? And I was at a time and place where I was like proud of myself for saying it, but I was like, hey, it's nothing against you. I barely have enough time for the people in my life right now. Like, I just had to say it. I was like, this was a point where I was scaling back because I was too busy trying to focus on everybody else instead of being like, what's healthy and manageable for me. And I was like, dude, I've even seen the people who are like some of the closest people in my life in too long. I don't want to lead you astray. Like, I can't even show up for you. Like, I just can't. This isn't personal. Unfortunately, I think that person took it a little personal, and I'm just like, it was genuine.
Honest.
And this goes back to like, and that doesn't say anything that wrong with them. I think it just goes back to like what is affecting our lives of why we feel the way we do, and I think everyone just wants people, the kind of friendships, like, people don't need a lot of people. People just need a couple people that know they genuinely give a shit.
Yeah. Quality over quantity.
Quality over quantity. Everybody knows that, but not everybody lives that. Like, most of the things that we need that are healthy and good for us just don't take the time to pursue. Unless it's business related, because that's like the sexy, especially for an A-type entrepreneur. Like, that's what makes the money. And it's just like, one thing I admire Matt Joe about is his willingness to give. He has a very faith-based business with Posted Social. And I remember sitting in there during one of our Bible studies. It's me and a couple of the guys. It was about tithing. And everyone has like their opinion on like tithing.
I don't even know what that means.
Tithing
10%.
is like giving 10% to the church and whatnot.
Okay.
And man, this dude has been tithing since he got out of prison. And he's like, dude, well, two quotes. Let me go on the first one with tithing is like, he's like, I've been able to do more with 90% than I was ever able to do with 100%. I was like, damn. Like, that perspective, like, oh, I need all of it.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like, tell me you don't idolize money without saying I need 100% of every penny. It's not like you're saying give away half of it.
Right.
Now, there are people out there who like literally will give away half of what they make for God as like a sacrifice. It doesn't say in the Bible that you need to do that. But it's more of just like, one way to really test someone who preaches about God is like, what are you willing to give for him? Oh, well, where am I going to get this next? Well, if God is real, not saying he's going to bless, but he'll make sure you're okay. Like, you know what I mean? Like, that kind of messes with you a bit. Like, when you preach certain things, what are you willing to give? There's also certain things that can be a little irresponsible where you just start, it's like, all right, but the 10%, just kind of, when he said that I've been able to do more with 90% than I've ever been able to do with 10%. And the other one was, because pursuing God is such a humble thing. Like, it's not like, at least I think it is. Maybe someone could correct me with that statement. It's not like it's like this flashy new car and all that. I mean, technically it should be the flashiest car on the planet because of, if you really believe he is who he says he is, right? Of like what comes with that is eternity. But Matt said when he was in prison, he's like, he had all the time in the world to read the Bible and pursue God. Because the minute I got out of prison, it's like, it's been the most inconvenient thing to do. Like, there's so many things out there that the world tells you is worth more.
Mm-hmm.
That whether people believe in God or not, they already know isn't sustainable. Like, even people who don't pursue are like, this isn't sustainable. Yet we pursue it anyway. And we like obsess over it. it's like, oh man, if I earn this much, it's like what, just to have a little bit of a nicer house. Like imagine being in a place in life. Like, yeah, there's things I want more, but like I'm like I have enough. I have a great meal. We got a house over our head and we get to be present with each other. And I'm a dad that knows how to be present with my wife. And I know what my kid's favorite color is, which I don't, I mean, I love when people who don't have kids are like, well, I'm going to be this kind of dad. And it's like, when Erin and I talk about it, it's like, we're humble enough to know and she'll correct me sometime and I'll correct her sometime of being like, well, we don't have kids yet. So as much as we look at them being like, man, that looks a little chaotic. It's like, we don't have kids yet. So we don't know. We have no idea.
See what my house looks like right now.
100%. Right. At the same time, it's like, what can we do now to make sure we build a foundation so when we're in that place, we can do our best to foster this kind of world. Right. Yeah.
Well, man, Connor, this has been great, man. I've really appreciated having you in here, man. This has
Thank you
been
guys for
awesome.
having me.
Absolutely. Is there anything that we didn't get to that you wanted to get off your chest?
No, I mean, other than like, I just pray that anybody who has had a inkling or hunch to pursue God, I pray that they do. I pray that I think there's no greater opportunity in life than figuring out what you believe. And I do believe that's Christ and God hand in hand with each other. But I think that's a greater opportunity in life than anything else this world has to offer. And sometimes someone just needs to say that, like, inviting that friend to church or whatever, but doing it in a loving way that it's not like, well, you're wrong, or this or that. It's just like, hey, be the best ambassador you can. And it blows my mind how far I've come. I had like some of the things I'm doing and how I've changed. I'm just like, man, I never thought I'd be able to do this, but that's not me. That's God, as some good people in my life would always say. And I'm learning to say myself as well. So, and just there's a lot of good people out there struggling that I pray all the time that they're healing. And anyone in my life who's struggling, just know that I'm thinking about them. And I hope that they get through whatever they're going through.
Well,
so.
Perfect.
Yeah. Before we get to the last question, I will say, I know you may not have gotten a chance to pray before you did it, but you definitely have come in here and glorified God.
Thank you.
In the way that you spoke.
Thank you.
So don't beat yourself up on it. Not praying. So.
Yeah. No, I'm just grateful, not to get emotional myself, but I think life for a lot of us can be very challenging and hard. And you think you have it figured out, and then you get a little older and you look back and you're just like, man, what were you doing? And I even look at some of the people I know who are in their early 20s struggling, and it's just like, hey, I'm still struggling in my 30s. All my friends in their 40s, I'm still struggling. Oh, life's hard. It's like nothing's going to change. We already know. It's like, otherwise it's just another day with a different vision board. And I'm not saying those things don't matter, but the greatest decision I ever did was pursue Christ. And I don't think I'd have the kind of partner I have now without doing that pursuit. And man, I've fallen short in so many ways, even in the last few years. And but that's all of us just trying to do a little better each day. So that die daily, I need to get back on. I need to write that, tattoo it on my arm if I have to. That's why I got half these tattoos. Is like, it's, when I tattoo Jesus on my arm, it's like, man, you got to look at yourself in the mirror when you make those decisions, and you literally put, God's son on you.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And his mom.
Yep. Mama Mary, and it's like, someone's like, oh, look at you, that hypocrite. It's like, we're all kind of filthy people anyway. Like we're all filthy.
Nobody's perfect.
Right.
But that should go back to like some of these challenges and struggles we have with other people. Like, why are we treating it's like, hey, that's the world speaking through them, not God. Like, people all the time will blame, like, well, look what the church has done. I go, you're gonna blame humans? If I was the devil and I was trying to pull someone away from Christianity, I wouldn't do it with someone who looks the opposite. I do it with that hypocritical Christian that makes someone not want to pursue God. Like, people don't avoid the church because of God. They avoid it because of Christians who say they believe in God who are acting like sinners. And then they blame God for the work of the devil. Nowhere in the
I'm-
Bible does it justify that. But what it shows, and that's why people need to pick up the book and read the freaking thing versus, like we're all figuring it out.
Right.
So,
Well, Connor, we didn't do this with you last time you were on because we weren't doing it yet on the show. But now, probably 150 episodes ago, we started, ending the show the same way. So before we get you out of here.
Play a little game called the Tombstone
Yep.
game. Here
Yep.
lies Connor. What's it say on your tombstone?
oh man, it's funny because whose podcast is it of What is a Man? Just what does it mean to be a man, like a good man? I think you guys just talked about this topic.
What is a man?
Not like the whole what is a man, what is a woman thing.
Yeah,
I'm not trying to go there. But it's like
Daily
what does it
Wire?
mean to be a man? What does it mean to be a man?
Yeah.
I forgot it was the Tombstone one. So, oh man, I don't even know. Gosh, that's so challenging and tough.
It's a
The way
tough
my
one.
brain works, of like, I don't think it would be about me. Maybe just know, like, this sounds, I don't know if it's cheesy, or just know that I loved you.
Yeah, that's good.
Like, like I think we all, at least for me, of like, I always can think of all the way fall short. I'm always trying my best of just like, I want to be that person in people's lives, especially Aaron's life and my future kids. That no matter what, even if you get their grace, it's like, hey, like I always cared and you had a friend in me,
Awesome.
Perfect.
Yeah.
Perfect, man.
Well, thank you again so
Yeah,
much for your
dude.
time today.
Thank you,
And
guys.
it's nice hanging with you. And thanks to everybody at home that watched or listened to this episode. If you could click that subscribe button for us, that would help us out a ton. If you really got something out of this episode, share it with a friend, or if you really want to go the extra mile for us, share it on your social media, particularly on Facebook. We've realized our episodes do pretty well when people share the YouTube link on Facebook. So if you want to do us a solid, that'd be great. Click that like button, comment what you thought below, and we will see you next time.